with your favor, then Lord, you keep your eyes on me to accomplish your desires. Lord, I thank you for your love for me. Thank you for your love. Lord, I thank you for your love for me. I thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your mercy. For your mercy is endure forever. Your word to never be. Hallelujah. So jealously, oh God. Lord, I thank you for everything you've done. Lord, I thank you for your love for me. Thank you for your love. But I thank you for your love for me. Your love found me. You so oh God, I'm now. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I thank you for your love for me. Lord, I thank you for your love. 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 Thank you for me. I thank you, Jesus, for your mercy, for your loving kindness, for your faithfulness, watching over me so jealously. Your angels are watching over me. Yeah. Lord, I thank you for your love for me. Thank you for your love for me. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for your love. I thank you for your love. Thank you for me. Thank you for your mercy. For your mercy. Watching over me so jealously. Watching us so jealously. Lord, I thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. Your love is everlasting. Love never fails. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Lord, I thank you. Hallelujah. Thank you for your love for me. Thank you for your mercy daily release. Watching over me so jealously. Lord, I thank you for your love for me. Lord, I thank you for your love for me. Hallelujah. I see goodness and mercy all around me. Who am I that you're so mindful of me? Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Hey, Shaladi Hidoswa. You chose me. You chose me right from my mother's womb, and you anointed me with your favor, then Lord, you keep your eyes on me to accomplish your desires. Lord, I thank you for your love for me. Thank you for your love. Lord, I thank you for your love for me. I thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your mercy.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening to you.
Good evening, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good evening.
We have a good quorum. You can see Brother Mwangi, you're well and you're able to get me clear. Pastor Felix, you can see my screen and you can be able to hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Good. So I just want to take the opportunity to welcome all of you and to appreciate and congratulate you. I know it has been a long journey, 3 months. It's quite a period, and here we are, climaxing these sessions. So indeed, we really want to just reflect today and even part ourselves at the back. I know it has been a big sacrifice to each and every one of us, but that's what we'll be covering today, the issues of personal development and growth. And I'm sure as we reflect on this lesson, we'll be able to see how our journey has been as we chart our way forward. What next from here? That will be the main issue to ponder on, even as we continue to engage tonight. Otherwise, I want to take the opportunity to request our brother Geoffrey to open with a word of prayer.
Okay, let us pray. Almighty Father, we want to thank you for this evening. We want to thank you for a beautiful day that you've given unto us. We want to thank you for the gift of each one and every one of us, for the gift of life, for the gift of good health, for the gift of families, for the gift of peace. As we start this training this evening, we want to invite you, Lord, to be with us. Open our minds so that we can accommodate the insights that we expect to get this evening. We want to pray for our facilitators, that, Lord, you continue blessing them with wisdom that they need to make sure that they also open our minds so that we can be able to become better leaders to the glory of your name. Bless each one of us and the families that we represent. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. So since last week, Tuesday, until today, a lot has happened. We have gone through a lot of transition. And I'm sure each and every one of us probably has something to say regarding what is happening now. We're in a lockdown, especially those of us who are in Nairobi and the environs. A lot has happened at our workplaces. Those of us who are here who are pastors, the churches have been closed. And I think in this period, for us as leaders, even the top leader, even the national leadership, quite an unpredictable season. And sometimes there are decisions that are made. Really, even the leaders making those decisions may not be comfortable. But for the well-being of the entire or the bigger population, then some decisions have to be made. And I think there is quite a lot that ourselves we are experiencing, and also what we can take as our lessons, because I'm sure some years to come, this period will be a case study on issues of leadership. There are leaders who will stand the test of time, and there are leaders who will may not be able to stand the test of time. You have seen presidents losing their position because of the decisions they have made during this time. So I think it's good just to take a minute and just reflect on what is happening, what has been happening to you as a leader, where you are leading, or where you are working, wherever you are. What are some of the issues that you feel you may be able to share with us, just to enhance and exchange and have a moment to exchange. The context is mostly on issues of leadership. So are there shifts that you're undertaking now? How are you coping? How are you adapting with the new change? Even at the family level, how are we adapting at the workplace? Are there decisions that you've been forced to make which you felt really this is hard, but I have to make the decision? So I think let's just take a minute just to think about and just share our experience from last week, Tuesday. We didn't anticipate what is happening now, but here we are. And we have, as someone said this week, that sometimes we have to think on our feet because change has come. We don't have time to adjust, but you have to move forward. But you have to make a decision. So we have to think on our feet. We have to make some decision on our feet. We just have to be that resilient, that dynamic in a way, but at the same time, not losing touch with ourselves and touch with the people that we are leading. So let me just pause there and open list maybe for each person for 1 minute, just to share your experience. Then we'll be able to move on with the lesson. I'll start with my brother Bernard Mwangi. You can unmute and share your experience.
Okay, good evening, leaders.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, it has been a difficult moment to sit and try to evaluate what has been happening. And from the general perspective of the people that I have met, other than the economic depression, there has been the spiritual denial. That is whatever happened on Friday through the state of address by the president. People did not anticipate the kind of measures that were taken. And spiritually, many people felt denied an opportunity to serve their spiritual needs, given that we have been going through a period of repentance, that is the Lent period, a period whereby we required to reflect back and see what has been happening in our spiritual life and try to relate well with our God. And given that last weekend and this weekend are very critical critical period during the Christian life, where we may commemorate the death of Christ and the resurrection, people had very high hopes of looking forward to celebrate that and giving thanks to God, taking into account what has happened last year. You know that last year we did not celebrate Easter, and the same thing has repeated itself. So people are spiritually depressed one way or the other. when we come to this economic aspect, people had tried to pick up in the small businesses that we are conducting, and all of a sudden, the same road people are trying to pick up was somehow demolished. So people are somehow spiritually and economically affected. They don't even know how to pick up their status and walk forward. But it is important to appreciate what the president the action the president is taking, just to safeguard the lives of the people and to make sure that there is peace and stability, both economically, spiritually, so that we don't continue losing lives. So one way people are spiritually depressed. On the other hand, we appreciate the actions being taken so that we can limit, or rather we can reduce the kind of impact this what do you call it? This disease is causing to the families. On the family side, given that we have the children at home, some of the children may not understand what the parents are going through around this time. And therefore it is important sometimes to sit and share the effects of what is happening around the world so that they can also appreciate. Maybe I can stop there briefly. Maybe if I get something to add on, I will in the course of time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Mwangi. From
I hope I was audible enough.
Yeah, you are audible enough. We got you very clear.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for the comments. I think you have covered quite comprehensive from spiritual, economic, and I will beef up on that. I'm sure if you are seated on that seat where the president is seated, we'll be asking ourselves the same question. Would we have made the same decisions that has been made? So those are the provoking discussion, and I think we appreciate your perspective. Let's listen from Lillian Mwende.
Hello.
Hello, Lillian, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so far so good. My week has been good. I'm so happy. Like, yeah, I did not think like can't have all those weeks and all that, but I thank God that I can say that I've managed and all is well. So after the presidential speech, one thing that did it me very, very bad, hadi nikasikia kaa nimepatwa na heartbreak, ni kusema hakuna church. That was what it did hit me like ile serious, and I was like, oh my goodness, what's this? One thing, okay, this is just a by the way, hadi nilikuwa nisha decide what I'm going to dress on Sunday and all that, but here it comes and you're like, no church on Sunday. But that's not what affected me. I'm the youth secretary youth in our church and all that. So by the time I had that, what did it me was like, are we back again to teenage pregnancies? Are we back again to that life where like we had lost a lot of youth and all that? Many got into marriages at young age and all that. Like, those are the questions that did run in my mind. And I was like, what can I do to bring change? What can I do to make sure that the youth they are still again together? Okay, in our church, we shall have this service, the youth service. It starts at 7:30. So we had managed like to bring them back one by one and all that. But now here we are again. It's going back to the drawing board. And we have to see like, how can we make sure that the youth don't go back and like, a youth is so desperate enough, how to manage and all that. Like, how do you connect them, like bado wakiwa too home, they can still engage, they can still like grow spiritually. Now that's what did it to me. Totally bad. But all in all, like right now, after like going through like this leadership class, I can say I just have a lot of ideas in my head that like I can bring the youth together. just be a servant and transformational leader. And I'm ready to help them grow. That's my take.
Wow. Thank you, Lillian. We can feel your heart for those young people. Actually, for us, we had a physical class on Saturdays, and we had to quickly shift that class from physical to online, just to make sure that we are able to move on. So I think these are the issues that I was saying. We have to think on our feet. Sometimes you have planned and things have changed. Do we stop or do we move on? Those are the questions that keep on popping up in our circumstances. But all in all, we appreciate for the quick turnaround that we are taking as leaders, just to make sure that the people are looking up to us. Because when such moments come, I think people look up unto the leaders, and they are there asking you. It's like Moses. We have come to the Red Sea. What next? What next? What do we do next? We left Egypt. Now here is the Red Sea. So sometimes we are bumping into these scenarios, but we thank God, because every time I'm sure God is able to spark something in us to help us move on. So thank you, Lillian. Let me move on to Geoffrey. Geoffrey Shabai, your experience.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Hello.
evening.
Yes. Last Sunday we had a very powerful sermon by our bishop, and he talked about what happened when Jesus died on the cross. He was brought down and put in a tomb, and a big stone was rolled across. And then soldiers were brought to stand guard, very strong soldiers. Now, he said that the big stone and the strong soldiers and the weapons they had symbolized the way people sometimes can use what is in their what they have, the abilities they have, the power they have, and all that to defend what is evil. But again, it is important that as Christians, we need to use what God has given us in terms of mental might and physical might, and the power that we have and the people that we have to roll out that stone, and bring out and drive what glorifies God. So he said that as much as people might abuse, actually he talked about it's like abuse of power, abuse of what God has given you. Let us use what God has given us to roll away the stone and do and support and drive what glorifies God. Now, for me, I think that one really touched me in terms of how we look at that picture. And I think as Christians, that is exactly what we need to do. This is life that we are living here, and we come across scenarios where people do things that just try to glorify them, their positions, and all that. But as Christian leaders, let us try to roll out stones and bring out what makes people change for good. And we should be people who are always driving hope, people who are looking for the greatest good to the majority, people who are talking about possibilities, and people who are always recognizing and acknowledging the power of God in our lives. And that is why we are alive. The others who have left, they didn't do any crime. But the very fact that we are still there, it means God really loves us, and there is something that he needs us to do. Now, for me, I really thank God for this course, because as much as we are looking towards transforming minds, I think mine is already getting transformed in terms of how I look at life, how I look at the people that I lead, the people who might be entrusted under my care, and how I need to look at the greatest good at all times for people. So this course has made me a strong person in terms of being candid. Yes, I know, like when this COVID came, this COVID has come possibly to test how we can be able to be shaken. Remember when Jesus was in the desert and what he went through. So for us, are we still strong? Are we still faithful to our God? Are we still focused? And when I look at this course, it's about that focus, that we should not be shaken by the challenges. I remember one time we came through crucibles. That is something that can boil you up, but the moment you remain focused, you remain faithful and strong, then you can be able to see this through. So for me, I want to be a possibilitarian, and I want to look at what happened. As much as the physical church has been closed, possibly in terms of looking for the greatest good and in the interest of safety and all that, looking at the behavior of people, the way sometimes you cannot control them and what they do. For me, it's about also the fact that the church is in your heart. Yes, we like fellowshipping together and being together and singing together and praying together. But when these kind of things happen, then as leaders, I think it's a clarion call that we cannot avoid thinking about the alternatives that we have to make sure that the people that we lead, the people that are entrusted to us, remain focused, strong, and faithful to drive their purpose. That is my take. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you, Geoffrey. We appreciate your comments. I'm sure there is a lot of takeaway from your experience. The church is in our hearts. And I think we are cascading a lot that has been probably done at central place to now a more cascaded environment. These are the issues we are also coping up, adjusting, and I'm sure as we share these experiences, we're able to pick a few tips from each and every member. Let me skip Pastor Abel. I'll come to you later on. I'll also skip the alumni because of time. So I welcome Gerald. Gerald, you can unmute and share your experience.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening, Gerald.
I hope I'm audible. Can you respond, please?
Yes, you are
Yeah.
clear.
Yes, we can hear you.
So, okay, so my take, or rather my lesson for the past few days, it has been a moment of reflection when the president made the announcement Friday. So it was, I just took some time and thought concerning the issue, and I realized that actually I was sharing with a colleague of mine at work, and I was asking them, are we starting 2020 all over again? Because it was in March when the country was closed and everything. But then anyway, this time it looks slightly different. And so, but much of it is almost similar. So the point of the lesson was that, well, how prepared are we, or how prepared are you as an individual for sudden changes in policy that would affect the entire economy, the entire country. So I realized that sometimes even as business owners, as business people, as employees or employers, we tend to forget very fast where we have come from. Because I think most of us had gotten comfortable and thought that now the economy is peaking, yeah, we are almost back to normal. Then all of a sudden this announcement came. So for me, it was a moment of reflection to just always ask myself, or rather I would say as leaders, we need to ask ourselves, how prepared are we for sudden changes? Because as chairman says, we need to think on our feet. So that is the point I take home, that even as the changes come suddenly, we also have to adjust suddenly. and you shouldn't be depressed even if it has really impacted you, because even if it has impacted you so badly, but you still have to walk. So even as you adjust, strengthen yourself and keep walking, because such a change is inevitable. And like they say, change is the only thing that is constant. So as leaders, we need to be very, very ready for any sort of change. So I'd say that is my take.
Good. Thank you, Gerald.
So I'll pause there for now.
Yeah, thank you, Gerald, for your comments. Moment of reflection. Change is the only guarantee we have. And someone said we need leaders because we are sure to experience change and also to experience some crisis that require someone to walk us through. So I concur. I think we need to keep on adjusting and being ready, because things are shifting, especially these current times. There's a lot of shift. We are in a dynamic world, so quite a lot is happening around us. Pastor Felix, your experience?
Yes, good evening, leaders.
Good evening.
Okay, for me, what I've learned from this, one, I was somehow disappointed because I felt that like the church was harder hit than the other areas, because I thought the church was the most sane place that you could have kept the rules and the regulations. But when this came, though it was a surprise, it taught me that we should always remain focused on where we are going. And another thing, the only problem that caught me off guard is during the first lockdown in March last year, we were celebrating our first anniversary as a church, and the lockdown was called. Now we also were celebrating also here. Just immediately after our celebration, the lockdown was again called. So I felt like I have so many new believers who I had to follow and maybe to guide, to do some follow-up. But some of them, due to this problem, to the lockdown, some of them I could not even get their contact. So I felt that somehow the church is affected, especially the developing churches. They are mostly affected because, like where I pastor, there are so many of them are new believers who need my guidance, who need physical guidance. Most of them, some of them may not be able to follow the online preachings. So it was somehow hard on me. But having gone through this, and the lessons we have gone through, and the whole course, I felt now I am more focused. I can be able to maybe the change. I'll be able to go through the change without many problems. And also, there is something I remember when we were having our having our get together. I remember one question I was asked, that if I was not doing the work I normally do, what I would do differently. And I answered that I would commit myself to help the less fortunate. So as this thing has come, I have felt that I have to do something else. I have to help those who are in problems, especially the less fortunate, because now I'm not maybe committed so much in the church. And also I looked at some ways that I can be preaching, like putting speakers on my car and going loud, preaching, speaking about the love of Christ. So somehow it has taught me to to be dynamic in whatever I'm doing and in my leadership. So the class has really helped me. Okay.
Thank you, Pastor Felix. That's quite clear. I was watching Hillsong Choir from Australia, and when this pandemic hit, they moved out of the stadiums, out of the halls, and they started singing in open place, because the passion to sing is so strong that nothing can stop it. So they had to think and to be more creative on how to keep on passing the message and also expressing the passion and the gift of God in them. And I think that was a really good challenge to me. I felt like if something is coming from within us, then nothing can stop it. We'll always get a way of serving that is within us. So this is the message I'm getting from each and every one of us, that yes, the hurdles might be there. Yes, the challenge, the unexpected might come along our way. But if we are burning enough, we'll always try to think and pray and get a way out so that we're able to move forward. I'll conclude with Pastor Abel from Zimbabwe. I don't know how the experience is there. In Kenya, we have a 8 p.m. curfew to 4 a.m. curfew. And this week, there was quite a lot that happened. There are 4 counties that were placed on a lockdown. So we can't get in or move out of those 4 counties. And a lot has shifted. A lot of people have lost their businesses, and the churches have been, those gatherings are not allowed, one-on-one or face-to-face gathering. So there's a lot that is happening in Kenya. Probably we'll just also want to get an experience of what is happening in Zimbabwe. How is the church coping there? And as a nation, how is the experience? And also in terms of leadership, what are the probably the nuggets that you can be able to share with the team? So Pastor Abel, I welcome you just to share your experience.
Thank you, Pastor Joseph. Good evening, team. How is everyone? Greetings from Zimbabwe. It's very hot. The experience here in Zim, some of it I can share from my own experience, because I've been I got COVID last year. So I'm one person who is very, very concerned and strict when it comes to COVID regulations in church. But here in Zimbabwe, the church was asked to open 3 weeks ago. We started church services, but it must be a minimum of 50 people. You are not allowed to exceed 50 people. There must be social distances. There are people who will be monitoring from the Ministry of Health to see if you are following everything. So that's what the church is like here in Zimbabwe. The curfew here is from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's the curfew, and they are very strict. You'll be penalized. If you are seen after that hours, you'll be penalized $100 US, or you can be locked in prison. One of the things I have learned that have helped me so much through the leadership that I've been learning here is that I can connect with people in Kenya and I've never met them, but I can still benefit greatly in them. And I've been using this at church, that I can minister to people even in the COVID season. I cannot physically meet them, but I can greatly minister to them. The way how this leadership, the global leadership courses have been very impactful and very helpful to me, receiving them all the way from Kenya, but they are benefiting me here in Zimbabwe in my individual capacity. So I've been taking this method, and I've also been using it to people at church. I'm meeting different groups that I can minister to them. I can impact their lives when I've not met them physically. So we are not really in a different space from Kenya, but we are also, they're also expecting that there might be another lockdown here in Zim in the next few days, because the cases have also started to rise here in Zim. So they're talking something like there might be another lockdown, and we still wait to hear from them, because the last few days the cases have risen, the deaths have also started to rise. Thank you so much, Pastor Joseph.
Wow, thank you, Pastor Abel. It's quite a good experience also to connect with you. And I think the practical experience of this class is a motivation. It's a motivation to all of us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the practical experience of this class is a motivation that we don't have to stop, but we have to probably think differently and see how do we chart the way forward. Otherwise, we'll keep on interacting as we continue with the lesson. I just felt it's good just to take a minute and just to really share what is happening and the experiences that we are all going through, because we are all leaders and we're able to tap and learn from each other. So I'll jump into the lesson, and I'll request that today we might extend slightly. So just bear with us, but we cannot go beyond 10 p.m. So that we are able to cover whatever is on the table, and also just to give you an opportunity to listen to how you are doing in terms of the project proposal. So otherwise, let's continue interacting through the chat as I move on with today's lesson. Okay, so today we are on lesson 15 and lesson 16. And we are talking about the power of personal growth and development in leadership. The last 3 months, we have been like a seed in the soil. We separated ourselves. We decided just to probably cut some relationships and just be somewhere where we are growing. It's our hope that these 3 months has brought something new in our lives. And this is what we are talking about. And as we get into this topic, I just felt like if we really had time, we would have interacted on this, but we have already addressed some of these issues. The 10 challenges that leaders face and how to deal with them. This is an online resource. And from your experience, I know you also might have similar challenges, or maybe different kind of challenges. But some of the challenges, one of them we have dealt with it. How do we deal with the change as leaders? Sometimes we are leading people that might seem to be difficult. Sometimes the pressure is too much on us. I gave an example of Moses. You have convinced people to move, and they have embarked on a journey. But along the way comes the Red Sea. You convinced them to move. Now you are in the midst, you are facing a Red Sea. There is pressure on you. There is pressure all around. And I know this is what we are experiencing, especially at this time, where people are looking at you and you're wondering, how do we proceed from here? But we always thank God, because we always have someone to connect with. The other challenge is letting someone go, delivering bad news. This time it has been difficult because we've continued to deliver some news that we are not really interesting, but we have to convey the news as leaders. How do we stay motivated? That is another challenge, staying motivated. There is an assumption that leaders are always fine. Yeah, leaders are always fine, especially if you are a pastor. We believe that pastors are always in good mood and they're always doing well. So then the question is, how do you stay motivated? Sometimes there may be there may be nobody to motivate you because of the assumption that you are doing well. So that's another challenge. Culture issue, maintaining and attracting respect, how to maintain focus, especially now. This is a big issue. There is a lot of diversion. People are taking detours, and some of the detours are not really what we should be doing, but they might help us walk through this period. But again, how do we adjust and get back to the course? Yeah, so maintaining focus, how to undertake communication challenges, how do you handle failure, adapting to change, and finally maintaining growth trajectory. How do you make sure that you are growing as a leader? These are just some of the challenges. I'll post this link so that you can look at some of the solutions that have been shared there. But as we focus tonight on personal growth and development, basically we are talking about understanding and developing yourself in a way that helps you to reach your highest potential and maximize your impact. So the key question here is, how do I reach my highest potential? If I am a car, I can use that example, and I'm allowed to run at 360 kilometers per hour, how do I reach that speed? And what speed am I running at during this time? So am I running at a speed that is appropriate? Am I maximizing the speedometer? Am I maximizing the power in that car? So the same thing reflects on us. We have the power, but how are we maximizing that power? So the issue of personal growth and development, just to be able to ensure that we reach our highest potential and maximize our impact. This is the journey that we are going to take together. And to help us do this, I'll take you back to one of the scripture that has been a key reference, Ecclesiastes 10:10. If the axe is dull and one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength, but wisdom brings success. We believe, and we have continued to share this, that if we sharpen ourselves, then we'll be more impactful. If we sharpen ourselves, then we can be able to tap into the potential in a more smoother way, in a more powerful way, in a long-term way, And as Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. And I'm sure this is what we have been doing during this period. We decided that let's shelve some time and just go under, let's be covered by the soil as a seed and use those 4 hours to grow ourselves so that as we come out, then it will be much easier to be able to lead. Issues that will take 6 hours, we can take maybe a few minutes to make such decisions and to be able to offer informed decision based on the experience that we have had here. And I think with what we've been saying, with 20% effort, if you are well sharpened, you can be able to get 80% results. And if I can recall a comment by Pastor Felix, the challenge that we are experiencing now, you have to reach out to a lot of people out there. And one of the focus and the discussion that we have had in this place is that we need to upscale our investment on the 20% of the people that we are leading, the 20% that take care of the 80%. Yeah, so that in such moments where we are not able to move freely, then we can be able to spread the wings through the other 20% that we can be able to reach out to every one of us. I've just diverted that a bit, but the focus here is that we need to keep on sharpening ourselves, and personal development is all about this, how we continue to sharpen ourselves. Someone said the swiftest way to triple your success is to double your investment in personal growth and development. Every person that desires to triple their success or even triple their value, what they do is that they go down on a downtime. And downtime is a moment of personal investment. And then they're able to come out and you wonder, where has this person been? Because whatever they are saying, whatever they are communicating, whatever their value has increased, has shifted upward. And what we see in terms of success takes a lot of time. The experience that we'll have after this class maybe some of us will look so different, we'll be speaking very differently, and people will be wondering what happened. That is what people see. And in the iceberg success model, we always say that there is the tip that people see, which is success. But down there is the investment. And if you can see from the screen, there are two iceberg models here. One, the success is the tip, but you can see the hard work, persistence, late nights like we are experiencing tonight, and we have been experiencing every Tuesday. The sacrifice, the discipline, the risks that we have taken, all this is what constitutes the success that comes at the end as the visible part. There is an issue of persistence on the other screen. Sometimes there are failures, there are disappointments, there are dedication, and even developing habits that are able to take us to the next level. So personal growth and development comes with a high level of investment, which we have experienced so far, and which we are still advocating that even after this is one area that we need to keep on focusing on. And without commitment to a plant, and the key word here is a plant, personal growth, any growth that occurs will be circumstantial rather than intentional. And by all means, growth and personal growth has to be intentional, because it's the highest value, especially to us as leaders. And in this session on personal development and growth, the key issue here is how do we make it more intentional? And intentional, we are talking about how do we now put it down in paper and pen in terms of planning it out. If there is no stretching, there is no growth. We have stretched. In these 3 months, I'm sure we have stretched. We have been very proactive. We've created an environment of being proactive. We have had to plan, reorganize ourselves. We have had to develop some high level of discipline, and also consistency that keeps us growing. Yeah, a plan will help us get started, but discipline and consistency will help us to keep on growing. And it's through those consistent action that produced consistent results. So as we walk through this, this is the experience that we have had, all of us. And I think I'm just pointing out to not something new, but something that as we reflect on, we'll say, wow, indeed, we have stretched. Indeed, we have had to upscale our self-discipline level and our consistency. And this is all about personal development and growth. I'll share a few points from some of the others that have discussed this issue extensively. One of them is James Allen. He's written a book, As a Man Thinketh, and he says, people are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. Just think about that. People are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. And I've also experienced this. Sometimes we talk about success, but when you bring in the issue of the habits of success, then you start seeing people surrendering. Because it's one thing to talk about something, but it's another thing to be able to walk through the process of achieving or becoming that person that you anticipate to be. So the key issue here is that willingness to be able to follow through the process of personal growth and development. Jim Rohn said, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because if you work hard on your job, you can make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you will make a fortune. The key issue here is what? When you're working hard on yourself, you are really bringing out probably that natural part of yourself. There are people who are able to align their work and what they do probably on their leisure time, which is in line. But sometimes you realize there is a mismatch that might happen. So the key issue here, I think we just need to keep on focusing on that growth, as you work, as you do your job, as you do your business, we don't forget about ourselves so that we are also able to continue growing. John Maxwell, the law of intentionality. Growth does not just happen. We have to be intentional about it. Yeah, we have to be intentional about it, and we have to plan for it, as I have already pointed out. And he continues to say, if we are growing, we are always going to be outside our comfort zone. Yeah, this is true. Strive not to be a success, but rather to be a person of value, because success is attracted, it's not a pursuit. We can't become what we need to be by remaining what we are. That is Oprah Winfrey. There's only one growth strategy: to be intentional, to plan it, to act out, and also be ready to stretch and to maintain consistency. I think these are some of the nuggets that I felt very important to us as leaders as we continue to chart our way forward from here. And growth is our prophet. Basically, we are saying what I say about myself tomorrow is informed or is defined by what I do today. So if what I do today is consistent with what I say, then I will be that particular person. So it's not really what we say, but it's what we do in terms of how do we plan out our growth and how do we move through the growth process. And we grow towards opportunity by preparing for the opportunity. So there are about 5 steps that I want to point out at this juncture. 5 steps to personal growth and development. We have discussed some of this during the entire session. If you can recall, we started with the issues of understanding your strengths and weaknesses. There is an exercise we undertook on SWOT analysis. If you can recall, I think you can just go back and check on that. So that is where we start. That's where the journey starts on personal growth and development, because I cannot grow what I have not identified. So the first step is to be able to identify what strength do I possess so that I can build on that, and probably what are the weaknesses so that I can learn how to manage them and probably convert some of them into the areas of strength. Then the second stage is define your goals and prioritize them. Coming from understanding your strength, then you're able to plan out and come up with some specific goals in order of priority. Then create and implement your personal growth plan. And finally, seek support. Seek support. That is very important. And encourage others in their own journeys. This is very key for us as leaders. After this, I think we'll be shifting and we'll want also to hold someone's hand so that we can take them through this journey to be able to help them also come out better as better leaders. So these are some of the 5 steps which we'll discuss further as we continue on how to take this journey of personal growth and development. So basically we are saying understand your strength and weakness, come out with some goals, define your goals and put them in order of priority. Then you need to create and implement a plan in terms of personal growth and development, and then continuously seek support as you also encourage others to be able to embark on the same journey. And there are basically 5 areas for personal growth and development. You look at your relationship, maybe at family level, at friends level, and spiritual, or any other relationship that you feel is valuable in terms of your growth. So you need to grow in that particular area. And I'm happy because with the Global Leadership Network, we have come up with a very important resource, which is our network. So even as we finalize the course, we need to continue connecting with this network because it's a key resource that will help us and support us in our areas of growth. Then we need to look at health and wellness, mental health, emotional, self-esteem, and self-care. We've talked a lot about self-care, physical health. There are issues of exercise and diet. So health and wellness is an area to plan for. Then career, education, college, university, professional, job training, and network. That falls under career. Finance, talking about budgeting and savings. You can remember during the retreat, we had a discussion on this. So that's also another area. And then finally, we have the recreation. We need fun. We need to make sure that we also have that part of us that we're able to have fun, invest in our hobbies, invest in maybe in times of to rejuvenate ourselves. So recreation is also another part of personal growth and development, the dimension that we need to focus on. So we're talking about emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and social in the bigger category. Those are the areas that we need to keep on growing. And as we look at personal development and growth, I'll just share a very simple definition. And it's more of a continuous, lifelong process. Remembering the 5 steps of discovering, developing, improving skills, abilities, and knowledge, or potential, or even strength to ensure maximum effectiveness, efficiency, and growth. You can connect with this with the first definition that I shared, how to optimize your potential, how to maximize your potential, and how also to maximize your influence. So it's a journey that we need to take in terms of how we have worked together, discovering what I have, developing what I have, improving the skills, maybe the special abilities, growing the knowledge base, so that we can be able to be more effective, more efficient, and also to ensure that we keep on growing. So the goal is to improve performance wherever you are as a leader and help others to improve on their performance, then optimize the potential and other resources as we maximize the impact. Because at the end of it all, it's about the impact, the difference that we are making or we are bringing around us. So there is personal development goals. Some of the goals as you walk through this journey. The first goal is that we need to keep on improving self-awareness. Self-awareness has been very, very key in this course. One word that we have repeated again and again is self-awareness, because this is key in issues of leadership. And as I said, I can only grow what I have known, what have I been able to identify. So improving self-awareness, awareness of one's own personality or individuality, and then improving self-knowledge or understanding. So knowledge or understanding of your own capabilities, your character, your feelings, or your motivation. These are the 2 goals among the others. The others include issues of improving skills, potential, and abilities, also building or renewing your identity or self-esteem, developing strengths after identifying them, and also the talents, improving maybe in the area of career, building employability or human capital, enhancing your lifestyle, improving health, wealth, or value, improving social relationship or emotional intelligence, and also spiritual identity development and recognition. So these are connecting to the domains that I shared about as we were starting, the mental, the social, the spiritual, and also the physical domain. So the goals that we are discussing here are addressing those particular domain. So I think we just need to check on this and see which area do I need to beef up, which area do I need probably to strengthen in terms of my personal growth. If you look at spiritual identity development, how well am I doing on this pillar? If I look at social relationship, how well am I doing on this? Emotional intelligence, which this is also a very important aspect for leaders, because we are experiencing a lot of ups and downs. And I think remaining cool, remaining stable becomes very, very important. So There's a model I'll share here. I'll not go into so much details, but there's a personal growth model with 5 areas. The first area is belief. You need to address the issue of belief, and belief you're talking about, I need to address the issue of mindset. Mindset, a very core area of growth. I also need to address the issue of identity and motivation. Those are issues that deal with belief. So as I grow, as a leader, I need to make sure I tackle the issue of belief. And belief, to tackle the belief, I address the issue of mindset, I address the issue of identity, and the issue of my motivation as a leader. 2, I also need to take care of the plan. And when it comes to planning, or the plan in this model, it focuses on goal setting, organization, or the strategy. Then from the plan, we have the action. And action entails execution, habits, and productivity. Then we move on to the results, where we are looking at the outcome, the reward, and the feedback system. And then finally, there is a review. So under the review, we are taking care of issues of evaluation, assessment, and redesign strategies that we are able to work through the process of personal growth and development. So this is just a personal growth model that we can adapt. So when you're drawing your own, you can classify, you can have the issue of belief and mindset, and then identify some specific areas that you need to deal with. I may not be able to share the examples, but look at the belief in this slide. For example, in the area of belief, some of the statements or some of the examples here, I just pick one. I believe that reading is useful and I can expand my knowledge. That's a belief. Or I value reading as an important way of learning. So that's an example of a belief that you can adopt. Then plan, I set goals to finish reading a book every week. Action, I place books and my Kindle reader next to my bed. Results, I read every night consecutive for 7 days. And then review, I track my reading habits every night with a habit tracking application. So these are practical application of this model. Yeah, I think once I share these slides, because these slides are not in the manual, you can be able to take some time to look at them and reflect on this, on that slide, especially focusing on the model. Then we look at the personal development planning process. There are a number of areas, or the number of issues, or a number of approaches on this. So the process of personal growth and development, one of the areas you need to focus on is self-analysis. And self-analysis or personal analysis. Personal analysis still takes us back to awareness again. So you look at you study and comprehend your own personality, your own emotions, and your own behavior. We looked at personality colors, if you can recall. Yeah, personality colors. There are also other personality tests. And I think after this, I'll share an online link just to be able to undertake your own personality to give you an in-depth understanding on this area. So self-analysis, mapping your strengths, gifts, and roles. That is what is key when you're doing self-analysis. And then personal self-reflection. Gerald mentioned the issue of self-reflection during this period. Taking the time to think about, meditate on, evaluate, and give serious thoughts to your behavior, thoughts, attitudes, motivation, and desires. Yeah, so personal reflection, very important resource for us as leaders, just to be able to set time aside, to be able to reflect and have thinking time. And then honest appraisal. This is an accurate or real examination of the value, the facts, the condition, or the qualities. Just be able to evaluate yourself, undertake your own personal appraisal. of your one strength and also of your weakness. So self-analysis, personal self-reflection, honest appraisal of your own strengths and weakness, it forms part of the process of personal growth and planning. And we'll put this now down into the bigger picture on the personal development planning process. The ones that I've shared, they fall under personal analysis. So as you undertake personal analysis, you're looking at self-analysis, personal reflection, and honest appraisal. So this is designed to analyze your own strength and weakness, and then you're able to draw heavily upon your personality and also your life experiences. Okay, so I think when we'll be doing this exercise, it will help us to really bring this out in a more practical context. And then setting goal, setting clearly definable and measurable goals. Remember, SMART goals. And then personal objective, setting out actionable statements for individual growth. So there is a cycle there for personal growth and development. You establish the purpose and direction. Then you identify development needs. I'll take you back to lesson 2. We are talking about the leadership gap. Some of the areas that you identified there, now they can come here, fit them here. So identify development needs. Then look at development opportunities. How do you grow in terms of addressing these needs? Are there workshops? Are there classes? Are there sessions you need to enroll on? Are there online resources you need to undertake? Then formulate an action plan. And then now get into the practical part of undertake the development, record the outcomes, and then keep on reviewing, evaluating, and then redesigning your personal development plan based on the progress. So this one's the slide is explained here. So you need to establish aims, objectives, and purpose. Then do your own appraisal of current realities so that you're able to identify the gaps, the strategies and plans for bridging the gaps. Then undertake development, measurement and assessment of your progress is very important. And then finally, keep on reviewing and evaluating. So this slide fits into the previous slide. When it comes to management, there are 4 steps for management cycle. Basically, these are broad steps that as you undertake your own personal development, the first stage is to plan ahead for change, analyze and predict results. I probably will want to predict where do you want to be by the end of the cycle, the end of the growth cycle, and then execute the plan. This is now where you need to take action, and then small steps. The most important aspect to focus on when it comes to issues of personal growth and development is that it is a process, and we need to address it in terms of the small steps so that we make it a more continuous and consistent process. And then check, we are saying, look at the results, review probably, and get the feedback. Then from there, you now take action to standardize or improve the process. Yeah, so acting here might be how do you improve the process again as you now implement the process into the practical dimension. So these are 4 steps, management cycle. Some success attributes for personal development and growth. One is focus. Follow one course until successful. That is according to Robert Kiyosaki. Identify your area of interest, passion, potential, or strength, and focus. Narrow down to one course, maybe center of interest, focal point, clear visual reference. Avoid becoming a jack of all trade. And I think here I'll just say, be a specialist. You know, when you look at the area of growth, even in the academic sector, academic domain, as you grow up the ladder of academic domain, you realize that the key issue becomes the issue of specialization. And this is what really helps people to become distinct in an area. So I think as we grow, as much as there might be many other areas that we can grow in, we need to be able to identify that one specific area that stands out. And that is now where the strength becomes very clear. That strength that I'm able to identify and nurture it. For example, for the Global Leadership Network, our focus is on leadership. So if I get into a bookshop, I think I don't read, because for me and for the other people that we are working together with, this has become our niche. Yeah, so what is your niche? Focus on your niche. The second attribute is that you need to keep on maintaining a positive mental attitude, positivity. Positivity keeps one moving on track. It establishes an environment of soberness and open-mindedness. Then consistency. Success is the sum of total small efforts that we repeat day in, day out. Day in, day out. Small steps with consistency. It is not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives, but what we do consistently. So consistency is very key. Then self-discipline, self-control, self-mastery, sometimes restraint, firmness of purpose, persistence, determination, tenacity, and resilience. Patience, number 5. Patience is about constantly doing everything you can, but being patient about the results. I'll share a story of a bamboo Chinese tree as I conclude, just to emphasize on this issue of patience. Then persistency, the ability to maintain a will as constant as time in pursuit of that which captures your eyes. So these are some of the personal development attributes that we need to embrace to be successful in our journey of personal development and growth. Yeah, starting from the first one, focus, positivity, consistency, the issue of self-discipline, the issue of patience, and the issue of persistence. I don't know which one you will single out as an area that you need to really work on, but we need to really focus on this, invest in these areas, be very intentional on them to help us become better and be able to grow as leaders. Let me emphasize this by sharing a story of a Chinese bamboo tree and some of the principles of personal development based on the Chinese bamboo tree. This story is in the manual. The Chinese bamboo tree, the seed that produces this tree is known to be very, very hard. And for this tree to grow, the seed is planted in the soil and it takes 5 years for that seed to germinate. And for the 5 years, as a farmer, you need to keep on watering the seed. We need to keep on making sure that you're taking care of the seed. If there's fertilizer or whatever requires to be done as a farmer, you need to continue doing all that you're supposed to do. And then after the 5 years, this Chinese bamboo tree is able to germinate. And according to the research, it's noted that within 6 weeks after germination, the Chinese bamboo tree is able to grow 80 to 90 feet in 6 weeks. 80 to 90 feet in 6 weeks. The study says it's almost possible to literally see the Chinese bamboo tree growing because the rate is very high. But the question is it the 6 weeks or is it the 5 years that really makes the difference? And it's all about the combination of the two. For 5 years, you nurture, you water, but you don't see anything coming out. But as a farmer, you have to continue doing this. And this is the reality of personal growth and development. Sometimes we go down, we go in our isolation, and it takes so long. Sometimes we feel like we want to come out. Sometimes we feel like we want to dig and see what is happening, but that will interfere with the process. So the Chinese bamboo tree, some of the principles we can learn from this is what we have talked about. The farmer has to be positive, that something is happening. The farmer has to be patient. The farmer has to be persistent in watering. He has to be consistent every day, has to maintain self-discipline, focus on where the seed was growing, was planted, and above all, have faith that something is happening. So as we undertake personal growth and development, these are the success attributes that we need to impress. And just always remember that story of the Chinese bamboo tree to help us to be able to remain on focus and to be able to apply some of these principles as we continue to grow as leaders. Finally, as we close on this topic, there are some traps of personal growth and development that you need to watch out as we embark on this journey. One of them is environment. Sometimes you need to monitor, are you in a growth environment or are you in a toxic environment? Too much comfort, too much security can trap growth and development. We always say that we rarely grow in our comfort zone. And I'm sure even during this period of COVID, where we might not be feeling that comfortable, it might be an opportunity to be able to grow. It might be an opportunity to be able to reflect more. And probably the time that we are spending maybe in a low environment or where the activities have been minimized, those can be opportunities to help us to be able to grow. So environment, are you in a growth environment? Is where you are providing you with an environment to grow. Probably the relationship, the people that we are working with, associating with, maybe the culture, the environment, all these are very important concepts or aspects when it comes to growth. And then mindset, negative mental attitude can trap growth development, personal growth and development. And the difference between successful and unsuccessful people is largely dependent on mental attitude. So our mindset can trap us or it can help us to be able to grow. So we need to also probably look at this and remember the attributes that we have discussed. Positivity is a key aspect for us to be able to continue growing. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. That is Albert Einstein. So we have to upscale our thinking probably to address issues that have come at the same level we were thinking or at the same level we were if we are to offer a better solution or a higher level solution. And then the last habit, the last trap is habits, because it's all about our habits. Our habits predict our future. It predicts where we'll be by what we are doing today. Remember, I said that growth is our prophet. It tells us where we shall be, as much as we are saying, but the action tells us the reality. So the habits, self-defeating habits can trap growth and development. So every new level in life will demand new habits. Every new plan that we put on the table will also demand a new habit to be able to achieve it. So we are what we repeatedly think and what we repeatedly do. So as we move from the comfort zone, we move from probably the fear zone, the learning zone, then we are able to get into the growth zone where we connect to our purpose, live our dreams, and be able to conquer and achieve our objectives and help us to be able to become better as we walk through the journey of personal growth. Finally, I want to end with this quote that you can only have two things in life, reasons and results, but reasons don't count. I think if we are to grow, if we are to continue becoming better, we have to focus on the results. We have to focus on what we do, our investments in terms of the small actions that we decide to impress consistently, that is what will eventually place us to position of becoming better leaders, and also making sure we are maximizing our impact, and also we are maximizing our potential. So that brings us to the end of that session, personal growth and development. And I know I've gone a bit fast, but I trust that we've been able to follow through. And I'll want to pause there just for about 5 minutes, to pause and allow you an opportunity just to share what one thing are we taking from this discussion, especially from lesson 15. And lesson 15, we really want you to make your own personal commitment. We have walked together the journey of undertaking this masterclass. But what happens next to ensure that we continue with this curve, the learning curve? What happens next? What commitments are you going to make? That one, you will undertake that as you undertake the leadership challenge for this week. But maybe let's just pause and share our experience. What is your takeaway? One thing that you feel has really come out strong and you feel that I need to run with this. It can be in a form of commitment or in form of just a suggestion or a comment, whatever dimension you feel you're comfortable with. So let me open and just listen from you. I'll start with Bernard Mwangi. Bernard Mwangi, you can unmute and share your takeaway.
Thank you for what you have taken us through. Assuming that I have assessed myself fully, then I need to remain persistent in everything that I'm doing. So persistent means keeping reviewing, picking, following up, and evaluating and re-evaluating so that I may be able to maintain that momentum, so that I'm able to keep in touch with what I have really established within myself. So the ability to be persistent is what I can take from that topic. All things all things assumed to be equal.
Thank you, Mr. Mwangi. Persistence. Lillian Mwende, your takeaway.
Okay, my takeaway for that lesson, I can say it's all about focus. Like I get to realize where I'm good at, where I can call myself a specialist. Like I can say I get to know my gift, that is like what do I love most, and then focus on that and become good at it though, so that I can inspire and influence others in it. That's my takeaway in that lesson.
Thank you, Lillian. Specialize and focus. That's clear. Geoffrey. Geoffrey, your takeaway. Okay, I'll get back to Geoffrey. Let me move to Pastor Felix. Pastor Felix, you can unmute and share your takeaway.